Joining us today on this installment of TV47 Prime. My name is Debarl, Inea. Hearty welcome to you. Of course, today, the biggest story shaping our bulletin tonight is all about Tanzania and Kenya, the diplomatic ties and the promises as well that should be coming up shortly. With me on the sign language desk this evening is Catherine Simaloy. Now to the broadcast. Kenya is ready to be a strategic partner in the proposed oil refinery in Tanga. This is according to President William Ruto. In his inaugural address to the Tanzanian parliament, Ruto urged the Tanzanian members of parliament to support the project, stating that it is a big investment worth billions of dollars. This comes as Tanzania President Samia Suluhu on Monday said she had raised concerns over Ruto's public announcement of the refinery plans without prior consultations. Stanley Yarungita, start us off.
President William Ruto's inaugural address to the Tanzanian parliament on Tuesday provided a platform for him to drum up support from members of parliament for the proposed Tanga oil refinery.
Sasa nimesikia nyie mnamuuliza Mama Suluhu maswali magumu. Mbona yule bwana ameenda kutangaza refinery ya Tanga na kule na sisi wenyewe hatujatangaza? Sasa nawauliza nyinyi, ile refinery bana is a big investment. Sikizeni, hiyo investment is in billions of dollars.
This comes amid concerns raised on Monday by Tanzania's head of state, Samia Suluhu, who said she had been blindsided by Ruto's public announcement on the refinery plans. The refinery, which is expected to reduce reliance on suppliers from the Middle East, will be constructed at the port of Tanga. Ruto told MPs that, in a bid to strengthen bilateral ties between Kenya and Tanzania, he opted to have the project in Tanga instead of Mombasa. MPs in attendance pledged their support for the plan.
Tanga tumekuwa tukitanga hasa katika maendeleo. Lakini leo umezungumza hapa hakuna swala la ubinafsi katika maendeleo. Umesema refinery ikajengwe Tanga. Mungu atakubariki Mungu.
We need to join hands in order to make East Africa again prosperous, strong and united.
In April 2026, during the Africa We Build summit held in Nairobi, Nigerian businessman Aliko Dangote hinted at plans to lead the construction of the refinery if regional governments back the initiative. Ruto's address also centered on strengthening bilateral trade, with the president noting that the two countries are on course to hit $1 billion in trade this year.
Kenyan enterprises have invested more than $1.7 billion in Tanzania.
Stanley Nyaringita, TV47.
Tonight, President William Ruto has called for an end to deep-seated mistrust and suspicion between Kenya and Tanzania, saying the quiet mistrust has come at a cost to the two countries. The president, who spoke during his address to the Tanzanian parliament, the second for a Kenyan head of state after Daniel Arap Moi in 2002, said the biggest barrier to East Africa integration is poverty, joblessness, and lack of development.
President William Ruto became the second Kenyan head of state to address the Tanzania parliament after Daniel Moi in 2002, a crucial two-day state visit which the president used as a reset of Kenya-Tanzania ties after what the head of state described as deep-seated mistrust and suspicion that has come at a cost to the two neighbors.
Our biggest barrier is not infrastructure or policy. It is the quiet mistrust that pervades our relations. That suspicion has cost us time, opportunity, and prosperity, and we can no longer afford it.
President Ruto retracing the two countries' shared history since independence days, when the founding fathers, Julius Nyerere and Jomo Kenyatta, laid the foundation of the East Africa community.
Ndugu majirani, some of these forces are still very alive with us. They still shape our narratives. They still influence our relations. Yet, our founding fathers, Mzee Mwalimu Julius Kabarage Nyerere and Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, saw beyond this prism.
In his one-hour speech that celebrated the country's shared milestones, including joint investments across the borders, the president avoided talking about human rights issues after Tanzania President Samia Suluhu called for a joint crackdown on government critics, majority being the youth and human rights activists.
Eti na wenyewe wanajifanya ni hao wa East Africa. Kwa hiyo popote wanakwenda kupigania demokrasi. Kwa hiyo wafanye fujo huku, wafanye fujo huku, wachome huku, wadisturb serikali zao. Nikamwambia Ruto, we have to send firm on this, watovu wa adabu hao. Tusichague wa Tanzania au wa Kenya. Wakija kwangu na chapa mikwaju, wakija kwako chapa mikwaju. Ili wakae sawa.
There were light moments in the chamber when the president told the House he will not speak Swahili and prefers English.
Kufika Kenya ikapata matatizo ya maradhi. Kufika Uganda kwa sababu ya maradhi yalimzidi akafa. Na mazishi yalifanyika kule Kongo.
Tanzania MPs also had their fair share of sparky moments after an MP campaigned for Ruto's 2027 re-election.
Kwa sababu wewe umechagua kumwamini rais wetu kama dada yako, sisi wabunge wa Tanzania, ni nani tusikuombee wewe ushinde uchaguzi wako mwakani?
Kenya and Tanzania have signed 8 new agreements, while setting June 30th as a deadline to eliminate all remaining non-tariff barriers that have frustrated trade across the border. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Back home, Education Principal Secretary Julius Bitok has announced an increase in school capitation per learner in a move aimed at strengthening education funding and easing the financial burden on parents. The government says the adjustment will also address persistent challenges of inadequate funding in schools. Our reporter Faith Wangari has more.
Leadership, please to thank KICD.
It is a sigh of relief for parents after President Ruto directed an increase in school capitation per learner from 1,420 shillings to 2,400 shillings starting in July.
The capitation has already been increased. The directive has been given to us. Parliament has been requested to do the same, and there should be no reason why capitation should not get to school as directed.
Education Principal Secretary Julius Bitok now says there will be no reason for schools to continue experiencing funding shortages once the increment takes effect.
We shall be able to get an agile system, a scalable system, a system that's able to integrate every department, whether it is assessment, whether it's curriculum, whether it's pedagogy, whether it's schools, whether it's universities, whether it's schools, all of them will be in chemis.
While acknowledging past financial challenges, Bitok has dismissed recent reports alleging school dropout numbers, maintaining that the Kenya National Council has not released such a report. He emphasized that the government has achieved a transition rate of 98%, adding that learners found to have dropped out will be traced and returned to school through a special mop-up exercise.
The chiefs have been given express orders that they must ensure that there's no learner in their locations, in their jurisdictions, who stays at home and does not go to school. So that is what we are working on. And we are confident we'll achieve 100% transition.
This comes as the president issued a stern warning to school principals to ensure proper use of capitation funds. Faith Wangari, TV47.
Staying with the Matters Academia, junior school teachers in Nairobi staged a protest early Tuesday to demand permanent employment from the government. The teachers marched to the offices of the Teachers Service Commission and the Parliament buildings, calling for about 44,000 teachers to be hired on permanent and pensionable terms. Andrin Kilemi with the details.
2 weeks since the reopening of schools, and junior school teachers are yet to step their foot in classrooms.
We are tired.
This following long-standing complaints about temporary contracts, which teachers describe as unlawful and unfair.
Because the other day, the Court of Appeal pronounced this as illegal. Why must you extend it? Why do we have a business? Why do we have a discussion over this?
The irate teachers have criticized President William Ruto, accusing him of what they say is issuing employment letters to board-employed teachers while leaving intern teachers struggling on low pay of about 17,000 shillings per month for more than 2 years.
The whole nation should be aware that the TSC has been captured by the state. You know, the powers of the president is limited to appointing only, appointing the secretariat of the TSC. Therefore, the president has no moral authority in the constitution to appoint, to employ, and for that matter, to dismiss any teacher.
Previously, the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers, KUPPET, had threatened a nationwide strike, demanding action on key issues affecting teachers, including health insurance, working conditions, and job stability. However, JS teachers have now expressed dissatisfaction with the union, accusing it of hypocrisy.
And they are the ones who are even getting the dues from the teachers from JS. So we don't know whether they want us, after getting this confirmation, we also look ways of getting our own union. Because if they cannot help us, and they are the ones who are supposed to help us in terms of our union, then now what are they trying to do to us?
At the same time, junior school teachers are also demanding greater autonomy in leadership, clearer job structures, and a more transparent process in the appointment of their leaders.
With pressure mounting from junior secondary school teachers, all eyes are now on the Teachers Service Commission to address the fate of intern teachers. Whether this call will translate into action now remains the big question. Andrin Kilemi, TV47, Parliament Buildings.
Many thanks indeed, Andrin. Now, the post-mortem examination of Dr. Job Obwaka has established that he died after suffering a cardiac arrest. The defense lawyer is now calling for Beatrice Wangare, the main suspect, to be released, arguing that the findings clear her of any foul play. Our reporter Modoni Brenda spent the better part of the day at Lee Funeral Home and filed this report.
Family, relatives and friends gathered at the Lee Funeral Home to witness the post-mortem examination of Dr. Nairobi Hospital board member Job Obwaka. The post-mortem results have established that Dr. Obwaka died after suffering a cardiac arrest that was caused by underlying heart complications.
The cause of death in this case, he had a cardiac problem, and actually he developed a cardiac event, eventually developing a cardiac arrest as a result of a heart problem that he had.
Forensic officials from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, have collected samples for further toxicology analysis. The family of the late Dr. Job Obwaka has accepted the findings, saying arrangements to lay the renowned doctor to rest are now underway.
The family concurs with the findings that the pathologists have given us, and that is the preliminary report. And we have confidence in what they have done. We've been represented by our pathologists, even as the government pathologist did his part. And we are quite confident about the preliminary report.
Meanwhile, the court case surrounding his death continues. The defense lawyer has urged the court to release Beatrice Wangare, who is currently being held at Kilimani Police Station, arguing that the findings clear her of any foul play.
Now the truth has come out. From our perspective as the defense, the toxicology is a formality, but the truth about the death of the good doctor, as even the other side has said, is found in this document. We expect the DCI to do an honorable thing of terminating the investigation against our client, Beatrice Wangare, and releasing her to go home and mourn a dear friend.
This comes after the prosecution on Tuesday stated that they were building a case to show that the doctor may have been poisoned, claims which today's findings appear to counter. With the post-mortem results already out, the main question remains whether the main suspect, Beatrice Wangari, will be released. Odhoni Brenda for TV47 from the Lee Funeral Home, Nairobi.
To matters politics now, where the case involving ODM Secretary General Edwin Sifuna and the Orange Democratic Movement will now be heard and determined by the full tribunal. This follows the Political Parties Dispute Tribunal dismissing a preliminary objection at this stage.
The Orange Democratic Movement has suffered a setback in its bid to remove Secretary General Edwin Sifuna after the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal ruled that the case will proceed to a full hearing. The tribunal has dismissed a preliminary objection filed by the party seeking to stop the proceedings, clearing the way for the dispute to be heard and determined. It further declined to uphold ODM's argument at this stage, noting that the issues raised go beyond procedural questions and require full examination during the hearing. ODM had argued that the matter should be handled internally through its dispute resolution and disciplinary mechanisms and not before the tribunal. The dispute has since intensified following Sifuna's renewed attempt to block efforts to remove him from the Secretary General position. Paul Kirobi, TV47, Nairobi.
DCP party leader Rigathi Gachagua is now calling on Kenyan workers to unite and form a new labor movement separate from the Central Organization of Trade Unions, that is KOTU. Speaking in Nairobi during the launch of a 2026 labor market and worker welfare report, Gachagua launched a scathing attack on KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli, accusing him of abandoning his duty to defend workers' rights. Gachagua also expressed concern about what he termed the quote-unquote diminishing dignity of Kenya on the international stage, following remarks by President William Ruto during his visit to Tanzania. Sydney Chazima has more.
A new political push is emerging in Kenya labor sector, with DCP leader Rigathi Gachagua and allies including Fazul Mohammed calling for the formation of an alternative workers' movement, arguing that the current labor leadership no longer represents Kenyan workers.
It's about time we created another alternative organization to champion the rights of the Kenyan workers.
There have been over 10 prime ministers who have served in the UK, but still we have the same person leading the labor movement. Your Excellency, that labor movement must be restructured. And if there is a decision that has to be made, people have to walk away from KOTU.
The group says the proposed movement will better defend workers' interests, though they acknowledge potential hurdles in registering it.
The staff union, the management, the supervisors, all of us are rallying call to replace KOTU with the new labor.
I know William Ruto, through the Registrar of Trade Unions, will frustrate the registration of that organization. But again, mine is just to assure you, get your paperwork in order, get the members in order.
Gachagua used the launch of the new labor movement report on Kenya's job market and worker welfare for 2026, held in a Nairobi hotel, to sharply criticize the current state of labor representation.
The Atwolis of this world are a disgrace to the Kenyan worker. I cannot understand how workers every year, every time there is an election for KOTU, they go and vote back this mzee.
The tensions centered on KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli, whom Gachagua accused of betraying workers after praising President William Ruto during the Labor Day celebrations in Vihiga County.
He is now the lead praise singer of the William Ruto praise and worship team. He is the lead soloist. He sings with both bass and soprano. To praise a man who has made the lives of workers hell.
Beyond labor politics, Gachagua also criticized President Ruto's recent trip to Tanzania, alleging that his remarks there embarrassed Kenya on the international stage.
The man has become so bold that he is now announcing non-existent projects in a neighboring country. You know, it's so embarrassing to our country.
The report launched at the event painted a bleak picture of Kenya's labor situation, highlighting rising unemployment and deepening economic pressures despite government assertions of economic growth. Sydney Chazima, TV47.
Now, the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya, ISK, has today issued its position on the ongoing efforts to restore and protect grievers in Nairobi, calling for close collaboration with the county government. This report was produced by our very own Moluse Meshak.
Efforts to restore the Nairobi River continued to gain support as the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya backed the government's initiative aimed at environmental conservation, flood mitigation, and the restoration of ecological systems across riverbanks. However, the institution has raised concern over significant legal and technical ambiguities surrounding the officially recognized boundaries of riparian land, an issue contributing to controversial demolition of structures.
Kuna upungufu kiasi katika sheria ambazo tunaomba serikali iweze kuangalia kama tutaziweka pamoja ili tukue na sheria moja ambayo itasaidia katika maneno ya kuhifadhi mazingira.
The institution further maintains that legally acquired property should not be demolished without fair compensation, while emphasizing the need to clearly distinguish between lawful developments and illegal encroachments.
Therefore call for a harmonization of the legal and the technical standards, and through this we urge the government to urgently harmonize the setback distances, the definitions of high and low water marks, the treatment of seasonal rivers, V-shaped channels, canalized rivers, and rural streams.
Meanwhile, residents in Utawala, Ruai, and Syokimau have been forced to vacate their homes following ongoing heavy rainfall across the country.
Wengine uliuziwa shamba na umeuziwa kwa mto, nao ulijenga, nao unabomolewa. So ile kitu nawauliza ni kwamba before you invest on buying a land, please do diligent on the history of the land.
Yani the only place I call home niliangalia ikiangusha. Na hivyo ndio iko niko homeless. Hata mtoto wangu hajaenda shule.
The Machakos County government through surveyors has initiated plan to demolish house built on water pathways and those erected illegally in a bid to curb flooding in the affected areas.
The rising cases of early marriages continue to pose a major challenge to girls' education in Baringo South constituency. Education stakeholders and government officials are now exploring ways to address the issue during a consultative meeting aimed at finding lasting solutions and strengthening the protection of learners in schools. Suzanne Locho reports.
Marigat has become a platform for concern and call for a change as education stakeholders deliberate on a growing challenge. Early pregnancies and childhood marriages are emerging as major barriers to girls' education in the region.
Walimu na stakeholders should be encouraged kwamba watoto wanaozwa mapema wa shule na watoto wengine wanapewa mimba huko shule.
During the discussion, it emerged that despite efforts to keep children in school, some communities still uphold cultural practices and beliefs that push girls out of school at an early age, exposing them to uncertain and vulnerable futures.
Na hata na wewe unapokimbiza mtoto mdogo, unakula matunda ikiwa mbichi. Sasa hata na wewe unaharibu hiyo matunda, wacha ikae. Na asome, achana na mambo mengi. Itafika wakati mzuri.
Leaders have strongly condemned the situation, expressing concern over cases that often go unreported or are poorly handled, and urging teachers and school administrators to take immediate action in reporting and protecting learners from such violations.
Inatoa mwito kwa watu wangu kwamba early marriages, any pregnancy unnecessary to any going school child, please can we stop that behavior? Can we also reason and do what other Kenyans are doing? Let us give opportunities to our daughters, to our children, to our girls to proceed with their studies.
A call has been made for the entire community to stand firm in safeguarding the girl child, ensuring education remains a priority and every child is given an opportunity to build a better future. Susan Locho for TV47.
Now, serious questions continue to emerge following the brutal killing of PCA Tabuga Reverend Julius Ndumia. Notably, both congregants and the PCA church leadership were absent during a press briefing held today by religious leaders at the church. This comes as security agencies deploy a special investigative team from Nairobi to probe the shocking incident. Mark Chalo reports.
A day after Reverend Julius Ndumia was found murdered at his residence within the PCEA Tabuga Church compound in Lanet, Nakuru County, investigators and community members have been left with more questions than answers.
On a general talk, ndio alikuwa ananiambia that he's having conflict na watu wa church because of his stance when it comes to certain things. So I inquired vitu kama gani. Kaniambia elections, vile elections zinafanywa kama za wazee. Pia his stand yake na kufanya kanisa igrow. So there's a piece of land ilikuwa imenunuliwa na parish pale Mzee wa Nyama.
Early indications confirm that nothing appears to have been stolen from the home, raising further questions over the motive behind the attack.
Kwa iko na ileta issue sana na wazee wa church. Most the elders wa church. So kulikuanga na group yake na group yenye si yake. Wenye wanataka atoke, wenye wataki.
One of the pastors of PCA here inside, they have told me that he has been complaining. So can we know also from but that is your work.
This as investigators now examine a possible lead linked to internal disagreements within the church structure.
Routine yake ilikuwa atahubiri and then Sunday jioni anatoka anaenda kwake and then anakuja mostly Tuesdays ama Wednesdays. So the only few people who knew maybe kama ako around ama hayuko. Yeah, so I won't rule out kuondoka kwake kama ikuwe ni something that ina connect you na ile shamba ya Mzee wa Nyama ama his stand na church.
Additional questions have been raised after both congregants and senior church leaders failed to attend a press briefing organized by the Nakuru Union of Preachers at the church today. During the briefing, religious leaders condemned the killing and called for a thorough investigation.
This horrific, terrifying act carried out within a place of worship has shaken not only the Christian community, but the entire society.
We are raising our concern over the security of this area, Lanetu Moja, and the environs, and this is a kind of an escalation.
Meanwhile, security agencies have dispatched a special team of detectives from Nairobi to assist in the investigation.
We are praying for the authority that is here and asking them that they should take action so that such a thing may not take place another time.
Two key questions remain. Who killed Reverend Julius Ndumia? And what motive lay behind the attack? Mike Chelo, TV47.
All right, and that story by Mark Chalo leads up now to a station break. We take a short break. When we circle back, we continue with more. Don't go away. Also, I'll show you photos from the East African community way back in the 1960s as well. Don't go away.
Skia, ni juicy. Flavor zote tamu tena fruity. Yummy na flow kama maji, juu ni tamu kama sali. Ni juicy. Are you bored? Kuna vitu zinakuudhi, usijali my bro, hebu kama taka juicy juni.
Azam TV, your favorite pay TV, just got even better. Effective 1st March 2026, we have added 5 amazing new TV channels to keep you entertained day and night. AMC Movies and Nolly Africa for the best of Nollywood movies and series. Music Box Hits and Music Box Dance for non-stop music hits and dance. And Manchester United TV for football fans. More movies, more music, more sports. All in one place.
Face the future with confidence by acquiring additional skills that will make you competitive in the job market. Enhance your skills by undertaking professional short courses at Mount Kenya University's Center for Professional Development. These programs include Certified Human Resource Professional, Certified Public Accounts, Certified Associate in Project Management, Certified Procurement and Supply Professional, Certified Forensic Fraud Examiner, Chartered Institute for Securities and Investment, Cisco Networking, Cloud and Cybersecurity Solutions, Certified Investment and Financial Analyst. Application is through admission.mku.ac.ke or reach us on 0709 153 195 or 0709 153 194. Mount Kenya University, unlocking infinite possibilities.
Tonight on Founders Battlefield.
At an African level, can you build a brand independently without you as a founder?
If you want to go fast, there is something powerful in an individual founder's brand.
I never thought that I need to think about the business, and then I also should be thinking about the brand of One Deer.
What I would have a problem with is having an amazing personal brand, and when people come in, they're actually not delivering to the promise.
Tuesday at 10 p.m. on TV47. On the next episode of House Number 9.
You keep things very disciplined.
Because disorder is expensive.
I don't think Mr. Elias ni mtu mbaya.
You know you talk too much, no? Sasa unajua, hapa ukiuliza, utaona vituko hapa, kila mtu atakuja na zake.
Hii ina sound poetic surveillance.
Unajua shida yako ni unapenda kuargue about reality.
Umekaa nini hapa hii masaa yote ukipigiwa kelele Wariara? Si utoke ukatafuta kitu ya kufanya huko.
Ukiangaliwa, unakasirika. No. I'm angry when someone wants to take what they did not earn.
Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. on TV47.
Oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, it's such an amazing evening. And can you feel the fire right in your house? Right on Dr. Foreke tonight.
You know, when you choke, you have choken. Done.
Are you a cheater?
Dr. Foreke acha kushika kundi.
Why would you bring somebody on the show who does not recognize my title? You are the guy.
Thank you, sir.
When are you vying for presidency? So to all the ladies who are trying to have a crush on DJ Ian and I'm sorry we are taken and not for granted.
You're funny.
Thursday, we have a date every single day. Remember hii ni TV47 mtu wangu, na story ni yako, story ni yangu, story ni yetu. To all the ladies, mwah. To all the men, you can sort yourselves out. And yeah!
Welcome back. Now, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, has launched a regional youth platform aimed at harnessing the power of East African youth in climate change policies. Principal Secretary for Youth Affairs, Fikirini Jacobs, emphasized the importance of utilizing Africa's large youth population to address urgent environmental challenges. The platform intends to strengthen regional cooperation, giving youth a voice in the formulation of policies regarding their ecological and economic future to bring about lasting change.
It is only Africa that has the leverage of a youthful population. What it means is, if Africa, if our region, if our countries are to embrace any meaningful change, then we have to leverage on the young people, the creativity of the young people.
Within the last few years, 40 million people across IGAD have been displaced as a result of climate change calamities, resulting in the shortage of food security. And out of that, at this time, our region is placing young people at the center.
Have a strong agenda, and we hope to make use of the coalition to fundraise, try and see if we can get more resources from our partners to be able to support the youth going forward.
Right, allow me to just take you across the borders, where demining Karabakh is one of the biggest humanitarian programs you will come across the world, and reconstruction challenges Azerbaijan faces after retaking the region. Azerbaijan estimates 1.5 million landmines, which contaminates 12% of the country's territory, mostly in Karabakh and surrounding districts. Since November 2020, 394 people have become mine victims, 70 killed and 324 injured. Elizabeth Mutuku visited Agadam village, one of the most affected area, and filed the following report.
In these fields, every step matters. Landmines are still buried beneath the ground, along roads, in homes and farmlands. Karabakh is one of the most heavily mined regions in the world. Azerbaijan estimates up to 1.5 million landmines and unexploded devices remain in the area. Since the year 2020, nearly 400 people have been caught in explosions. Dozens have died. Many were injured while carrying out daily activities like farming or even walking home. Clearing the land is slow and dangerous work. Demining teams move extremely carefully, checking every signal and clearing one section at a time.
Give you the concrete time of the mine cleansing process, as we can't anticipate the time of cleansing those landmines here in this region, because there are a lot of landmines and it's heavily polluted, and some of them like less polluted, and it might take more than we think it would take, or it might.
Even though they use machines, drones and trained dogs, much of its work is still done by hand. The government says no one will be allowed to return until the land is declared safe. Every cleared area is inspected and recorded. Clearly, there is signs of progress.
These are some of the land mines which have been deeply hidden in this land and which have been successfully identified during the process. And here we have even dangerous ammunitions which have been lying deep in this land as the process continues, with hope of making it habitable as it can be.
In Agali village, some families have started to return. Roads in nearby towns are also reopening gradually. So far, more than 160 hectares have been cleared and thousands of explosive devices destroyed, but large areas are still unsafe.
Since 2020, 460 mine explosions happened in this region. 422 people were injured. And of these 420, out of these 422 people, 73 people were killed by the mine explosion.
Officials say the process has been slowed by lack of accurate minefield maps. They estimate it could take decades and billions of dollars to fully clear the explosives. For now, demining teams continue their work, making it possible for families to return safely, one area at a time.
The land behind me here in Agdam was once a grape farming space, but after the war, it was left with wounds through landmines. But the process of demining gives hope of resettling IDPs here in the near future. Elizabeth Mutuko, TV47, Agdam, Karabakh, Azerbaijan.
All right, Elizabeth Mutuko there from Azerbaijan. Thank you so very much for filing that particular report. Back home, concerns mounting over the future of Kenya's public health system. Stakeholders now warn of a looming workforce crisis. At a national public health summit in Naivasha, experts and practitioners are calling on the Ministry of Health to urgently recruit public health officers and technicians, noting that the last major recruitment was conducted over a decade ago, with many current officers now earning retirement. Our reporter Willie Dennis Diruf.
Delegates at the National Public Health Summit have called for urgent reforms to prevent potential disruption of critical health services, warning that the system is under significant strain and requires immediate intervention.
We want to see the Minister of Health replacing or rather recruiting public health officers and technicians. Because since the last time they employed the PHOs at the ministry was since before even the devolution it became in place. We actually seeing the next 2 or 3 years going forward, we're actually going to have an empty shell at the Ministry of Health.
Stakeholders announced a plan to present a comprehensive memorandum to the Ministry of Health outlining actionable steps to revamp the sector, address key concerns raised during the summit.
We shall not allow any public health officer to practice without a practicing license. That is the message that we are passing here.
Participants emphasized the need to strengthen core pillars of public health: detection, prevention, protection, and promotion, stressing that these are essential to safeguarding communities against both emerging and existing health threats.
We have seen a lot of issues like programs like school health, TB being manned by people and non-PHOs. We are not saying anything but raising an alarm. And you know this one goes down to service delivery. Because when we're talking about a school health program being manned by a non-PHO, it therefore means that we might not be able to experience a service delivery that's we're actually looking at.
Concerns were also raised over policy formulation processes, with stakeholders criticizing what they described as top-down approach. They argued many policies are developed at headquarters without sufficient consultation with professional associations on the ground.
Currently, the Ministry of Health is implementing very robust health sector reforms, and we don't want to leave anyone behind. We already have the memorandum from the union with all the issues that have been raised here.
Additionally, the summit highlighted gaps in school health policies, further underscoring the need for more inclusive and participatory decision-making as pressures mount on the government to prioritize reforms.
What is coming out prominently is not public health. And yet public health has a lot of responsibility when it comes to school health.
For TV47, I'm Willie Dennis Njero.
All right, time to crunch the numbers, where Kenya has committed 100 billion shillings over 3 years to a revamped asset financing proposition targeting key sectors like manufacturing and agriculture to accelerate national economic development and productivity. The enhanced asset-based finance 2.0 framework slashes onboarding times from 10 days to just 48 hours, streamlining the customer journey by reducing approval steps from 13 to 6, with extended loan tenors of up to 84 months and 100% financing option. The bank, that is Absa Bank, aims to empower business to acquire vital equipment, solar solutions and vehicles with unprecedented speed and financial flexibility.
We have invested in a fully fledged
Asset Finance Center here in Nairobi at Bishopsgate. And the center brings together specialized expertise, sector-aligned credit assessment, and streamlined execution oversight, ensuring consistency and scalability as demand across the value chain.
One of the most important outcomes of this work is the introduction of revised market-aligned parameters. Amongst others, customers will benefit significantly from improved processing timelines, with onboarding to approval time reduced from 10 days to 48 hours.
All right, time for sports now, where Kenya's football leadership is under fresh scrutiny as controversial multi-million shilling insurance deal linked to the 2025 African Nations Championship sparks a deepening crisis within the Football Kenya Federation, with questions over procurement, licensing and accountability taking center stage. Duncan Mutua with the details.
Two delegations.
There was an attempted coup while I was away in Kampala.
Two narratives.
We have not done any coup. We have just requested our colleagues, especially the three, the president, Abdallah Yusuf, and the acting SG, just to step aside.
One federation in crisis.
That this is an entirely governance issue. The secretariat is intact.
Inside the Football Kenya Federation, a storm is brewing, centered on a controversial multi-million shillings insurance deal tied to the 2025 African Nations Championship CHAN.
We are finding some serious issues which tomorrow will definitely bring down this big institution. And people will start asking, Shikanda, you played football, where were you? Mariga, you played football, where were you?
Football Kenya Federation President Hussein Mohamed appeared before the National Assembly's Sports Committee to answer questions on AFCON's preparations and the unfolding insurance saga.
We are talking about 42 million paid to a company which did not deserve.
FKF did not pay the insurance. It was paid by CAF. So the insurance you are referring to was not paid for by FKF. It was not paid by FKF.
So you cannot just say now that FKF did not pay because CAF paid, and the CAF paid from the money that we paid them for hosting rights.
At the center of the dispute is a contract awarded to Riskwell Insurance Brokers Limited, a firm reportedly not licensed by the Insurance Regulatory Authority as of 2025 and said to have been formed just 40 days before the CHAN tournament, raising questions about its eligibility and the validity of the cover provided.
I mean, I was very alarmed when I heard that 43 million was paid as insurance premium to a broker who was not registered broker. And consequently, it meant that there was no insurance. And that's a serious matter.
The NEC is in a very funny situation where collective responsibility is required. But you see, we cannot have collective responsibility when the decisions are unilateral. It is even unfair on our part. And that is why we have gotten where we are.
And now, a divided federation has emerged, with the function led by Vice President McDonald Mariga alleging that the broker did not undergo a competitive tendering process but was nonetheless fully paid. They further claim that established firms including Britam, Hold Mutual, and Takaful Insurance of Africa had submitted significantly lower bids, some reportedly over 10 million shillings cheaper than the Riskwell's offer.
In fact, one of them quoted 29 million. Riskwell quoted 42 million. Up to the evaluation stage, Riskwell was not a player in that procurement.
Legislators have given FKF President Hussein Mohamed until Friday, May 8th, to submit all documents related to the insurance deal during the CHAN tournament. Duncan Mutua, TV47.
Team Kenya, which was participating in World Relays Championship in Botswana, has touched down at JKIA, where they have been received by government and Athletics Kenya officials after Kenya made a mark in the international stage.
Ni wachezaji, ukiangalia kuna watu kutoka Wizara ya Michezo nchini wamepokea wanariadha wa Kenya. Ukiangalia namwona pale kuna Marco Tieno, namwona pale
4x4 mixed relay. Ilikuwa first time ku break barrier ya 310. First time tukikimbia 309. Though ilikuwa a bit challenging but tuli deliver our best. Ukiangalia performance from previous years na this year imekuwa very impressive. We are very happy. Most of the relays we have qualified for World Championship 2027. So we are still coming and we will be back strong.
Qualifying to the next championship that is there, and I think Kenya is well represented at that stage. We didn't get a medal. We missed one by a whisker, but we think that was enough exposure to our sprinters. It's still early in our calendar. This is one of the first international championships that we have encountered today, and we are very sure that in the subsequent international engagements, our team will feature well. We are happy that we came back with an African record and 3 national records accompanying the same, and we think that this is enough. Most of our teams are now within qualification for Beijing Championships and also the ultimate championship, which is the biggest this year. We have already qualified one team for the ultimate championship, which is a big achievement. The first one, and I know everybody has not qualified even for the ultimate, but our team is already there. For the Beijing championship, we have qualified one team also automatically, and 3 of them are still on the top 16.
Tumeenda huko tumeng'ang'ana. Hii haikuwa event ya Africa, ilikuwa ya world. The whole world ilikuwa inapatana huko kwa sababu ya hii competition. And we as Kenyans, we are so proud of ourselves kwa sababu tulijikaza because that's a global event.
Welcome our team, the relay team from Botswana. And I want to say that the president told me to come and tell them that they did very well. And though no medal came, I tell them that the performance was good.
Indeed, we lose some, we win some, so we hope for, of course, a better tomorrow as well. And that's the spirit. We wish them well moving forward. Right, before we close up our bulletin, we just want to show you what is fresh off the press. Tomorrow in the publication of The Star, this is what you're going to be waking up to on the front page of the Daily. Tomorrow, ministers move to steady ODM as factional rivalry deepens. This is what is on the front page of the publication tomorrow. Analysts divided on whether interventions will succeed, it says. Just reading the flag there. The story is tucked away on page 6 of the publication tomorrow. Also, crisis as debt swallows half of Ruto's 4.8 trillion shillings election budget. President William Ruto's 4.82 trillion election year budget is under serious strain, with nearly half of it, that is 2.3 trillion shillings, earmarked for debt repayment. The allocation underscores the growing squeeze on public finances ahead of the 2027 polls. You can read the rest of the details on page 8 of the publication. Also, we have a standalone picture here, and this is all about demolition that was ongoing. That is in Marurui, Kiambu County. A home built on contested 300 acres is demolished. That is a land dispute that has been ongoing. Let's just scroll up and we'll see what we have on the teaser there. Dr. Obwaka died of cardiac arrest, shows post-mortem. We ran you by this particular story, but you have all the gritty details as well on page 3 of the publication. And man who defiled his niece to spend 30 years in prison. This is on page 23 of the publication tomorrow. I just want also to show you this particular picture. Now that we had the president in Tanzania, he talked about our cordial relationship between Kenya and Tanzania and the spirit of East African community. This is way back in 1965. And you can see here Dr. Julius Kabarage Nyerere having a word with James Geshuro, right? And while President Kenyatta looks on. Also in the background is Mr. Charles Njonjo. So you can see just a profile picture of him, but I just want to show you clearly who James Gichuru is. And here you can see him disembarking from a plane there. This is in 1964, right? And right behind him also is Bruce Mackenzie. Here, James Gichuru was the Minister of Finance then, and we have Bruce Mackenzie. This was the first agriculture minister coming from abroad. That is, of course, from our archives. Right, thank you very much for your valued company. I just want to thank you also on behalf of Catherine Simaloy that has been on the stand.